Communication from young people changes every year. Do you know all of the slang that they use? And we're not talking about the slang that you used when you was coming up. Nobody says that anymore. My kids remind me, my kids tell me they're so surprised when I use the slang that they use currently. And they're like, don't say that anymore. You're too old to say that. It's just words. Did you understand what I said? Yes? Okay, then shut the hell up. It's that simple. Hello, Governor. This is Rakai Steed, Newfoundlandville. And this time, we're diving into the absolute bedrock of human connection, communication. Yes, we're going to talk about The Bear. Season 4, Episode 4, Worms. Now, how many times have you walked away from a conversation feeling utterly misunderstood? Or maybe you tried to explain something and it was just a complete misfire. Frustrating, right? Tell me about it. But what if the problem isn't what we say, and it's not how we say it, but it's just our fundamental understanding of the purpose of communication itself? What if we need to find the why between every single word that leaves our lips? Why are you speaking right now? What do you want to achieve? Is it understanding, action, empathy, or do you just want to be heard? Now, this episode, much like the title suggests, might throw us into the chaotic, intricate situations where communication can lead to total disaster. I'm going to explore high-stakes environments, like in The Bear, but also in our everyday lives, where purposeful communication is the key through cutting through the noise, untangling messes, and ensuring that your message, your intent, lands exactly where it needs to. Get ready to rethink your conversations, clarify your why, and discover how a deeper understanding of communication's purpose can transform not only your relationship, but your impact. Let me tell you a little story. Once upon a time when I was teaching, I went to I don't remember the name of it, but it was a teaching and learning conference. And we had the good graces to go to Vail, Colorado for this conference. Now, the thing about it is you might think Vail, Colorado, oh, you went on vacation and it was fun and you went skiing and all that. No, we went to a conference, a nice little resort, but that's where they held the conference. So it wasn't like we had a choice to go to the one in Detroit or go to the one in Chicago or go to the one in Nashville. Nope, they held their annual conference every year in Vail, Colorado. So we went because the purpose of this teaching and learning conference was to understand communication. Now, why is that important? I was a teacher. I taught middle school math and social studies. Communication is important. I need to know. I spent all this time planning lessons, trying to get students to understand, to learn. So what I say, how I say it, the intent behind my words, behind my message, has to land. I don't have that much time. At best, I got 50 minutes, an hour with a student. I got to get them this information as fast as possible. Let them practice it. Let them feel good about it before they leave my classroom. Not only did we learn how to communicate effectively, we learned how the brain worked, ways that we should be phrasing, chunking information. You can't stand and lecture to kids. You can't give them a whole bunch of information, just be like, all right, y'all got it, get to work. Doesn't work like that. It has to be chunked, small bits. Why do you think kids love Vine when Vine came out? And now they're 100% into Snapchat, TikTok, Reels, all of that, because it is bite-sized information. It's real short, enough that they can encapsulate all of that, make their own determination, and then move forward. Now, the problem with that is that they don't get enough information and they're not inquisitive or curious enough to go find the rest of the information, or to say, I just got this snapshot of the information. That can't be the whole story. No, they'll run with the whole story and act like they know everything that needs to be known. So a story that takes an hour, they'll hear 30 seconds and be like, I know this story already. And if they have to embellish, if they have to make up, then that's what they'll do. But they're gonna run back and tell that story if they haven't already shared it. The other thing that was important about this conference was we learned how the students communicated with us. Communication from young people changes every year. Do you know all of the slang that they use? And we're not talking about the slang that you used when you was coming up. Nobody says that anymore. My kids remind me, my kids tell me they're so surprised when I use the slang that they use currently. And they're like, don't say that anymore. You're too old to say that. It's just words. Did you understand what I said? Yes? Okay, then shut the hell up. It's that simple. Anyway, let's get into this. Hello, Governor. This is Rakai Steve New from the Ville, and we are here to talk about The Bear. Season 4, Episode 4, Worms. Now, I've been trying a new format, so I want to see if this is really landing with you. So I'm not going to do a long recap. I will still do my quotes, but I'm going to talk about the story kind of as we go along. You know I love my quotes, and I only have 2. The first one's from Nat Turner, and he says, good communication is the bridge between confusion and clarity. And the second one is from Brian Tracy, and he says, communication is a skill that you can learn. It's like riding a bicycle or typing. If you're willing to work at it, you can rapidly improve the quality of every part of your life. Now, I'm calling this particular media therapy deep dive the purpose of communication. Now, one of the things that you absolutely need to do is use your why. Why are you communicating as your organizational blueprint? You need to be able to cut through the chaos with purposeful chunking of the information. The thing is, in high stress environments like the Bear, especially the Bear's kitchen, I can't imagine. Every piece of communication needs to be clear, concise, and have an immediate and clear why. Why are you saying what you're saying? What is the response that you're intending to get back from that? And whatever that response is, why are they saying what they're saying? Now, when you understand the ultimate purpose of your message, whether it's to prevent a mistake, to coordinate a complex action, or even direct your resources, it naturally dictates how you break down and chunk information for maximum clarity and efficiency. Now think about the episode. As they were communicating in the kitchen, what you would hear clearly, now that they brought in Jess and Garrett and Renee, they were so used to the efficiency that was at Ever, they brought that with them to help turn that chaotic mess in the Bear's kitchen into efficiency. The Bear had a lot of the right pieces to be a world-class, all-star, Michelin star restaurant. They had 2 brilliant chefs in Carmi and Sid. But Carmi and Sid lived their lives 2 very different ways. Carmi breeded chaos, while Sid breeded timidness. And that's not saying that she was timid, because she definitely spoke up when she had to, but it was hard for her to function in the chaos that was Carmi. Part of that might have been that she idolized him a little bit. You know what they say about meeting your idols. Now, in the kitchen, remember you would hear the rapid fire calls out on the line, like heard, corner, behind. Each has a specific life or death purpose. That could be safety, coordination, acknowledgement. It's the same thing, you know, and I hate that I give sports references all the time, but it's part of my background. My oldest son, on the defense, he calls out the plays. He calls the directions to the other DBs and other corners. And that means that he is watching what the other side of the ball is doing. He's watching what the offense is doing. And any shifts that they make, he calls it out. Tells people, okay, I see this. You guys need to be aware of this. And that's the same thing that they're doing in the kitchen. You have to call out directions or there will be chaos. And we've already seen what that looks like, haven't we? If Carmi or Sid were to ramble and just start talking, running off at the mouth, it would create chaos because it doesn't have a clear why behind it. This episode, even though this episode followed Sydney on her journey, this episode is also about, in the early parts when they're talking to different people in the episode, it's about discerning what needs to be said, to whom, and why, so it can be delivered in the most digestible way. You know, like when I talk to my kids, I can say something to them and they hear me, but it goes in this ear and straight out this one. I asked them 5 minutes ago. I can ask them 5 minutes from now what I say, and they're like, I don't know. No, it's not disrespect, but it's when you label importance, and you would think as a parent, I should be at the top of the list. You should always listen to what I say, but it's not that way. Because if I say something to my son, and I'll be like, all right, did you hear me? Repeat it back to me. He'll repeat it back. He heard me. I ask him 5 minutes from now, he has no idea what he says. I'll be like, all right, what did your coach say? He can run off verbatim what coach said. Really? Almost made me cuss you, little boy. Now, do you know what happens when communication lacks a clear purpose and the why behind what's being said isn't clear, it's not understood? It leads to ambiguity, misinterpretation, and ultimately those persistent worms. I know when you hear the word worms, it was like, why is the title called Worms? Worms are those insidious, nagging problems and conflicts that burrow into operations and relationships. They're always there, festering, burrowing their way in, because what you had to say was not concise, it wasn't clear. Worms thrive on unclarified intentions and poorly organized information. Beyond mere instruction, the highest purpose of communication extends to building and maintaining relationships. Communication is a tool for trust, respect, and growth. When you intentionally communicate with the purpose of showing respect, fostering trust, offering support, and guiding growth, the way that we break down and chunk information at that point becomes an act of care. It's about valuing the recipient of that information enough to make the message accessible and impactful for them. You can give the greatest speech in the world, but if you didn't break it down in a way that's relatable and impactful and accessible to who you're talking to, it's going to land on deaf ears. Even when there is pressure, there's little glimmers of purposeful communication that are rooted in genuine care. But sometimes your feelings, you get into your feelings and your feelings are hurt, and a misunderstanding can cause you to miss or throw away that genuine care. And all that does is further foster more misunderstanding. Think about when Sydney was talking to Marcus, or when she was having a conversation with Tina. You could see the care in their relationships. Carmi is getting there. Carmi is trying to talk to everyone, and he's on this tour of healing where he's trying to not only understand that person's point of view, but apologize for the chaos that he has inflicted upon this restaurant. Because now it's very easy to point fingers at him and be like, we are going down the shitter and it's because of you. Like, you brought chaos into this house. This wonderful concept that was the beef We got behind you and we backed you 100% in the bear. But it's almost like the closer we got to the bear, the more manic and crazed you became. One of the things that's especially effective is the care. When we see the flashbacks of Mikey talking to Richie, or the episode where he talked to Tina, there was a kind of care that Mikey had in talking to people like they were family. And Carmi doesn't have that, because even though this family is extremely important to him, he doesn't know how to communicate it. He comes from such a dysfunctional place that his real family is so dysfunctional that he had to leave just to save his own sanity. Because you see, we have a long-standing lack of communication between so many people in the family, where he's not been able to really communicate with his mother. He wasn't able to communicate with Mikey the way he wanted to. And then it became too late. This whole episode, you see a lot of communication between Sid and her cousin Chantel, who's doing her hair. But the real meaningful conversation came between Sid and TJ, her niece. Out of the mouths of babes. And it's funny how a child who doesn't have a dog in a fight, but just will listen and can give Sid some meaningful conversation, the same way that Sid gave TJ meaningful communication about how to deal with her problem at school. Purposeful, well-chunked pieces of advice or feedback, even if tough, can profoundly shift a character's understanding and motivation. And it can deepen those professional and personal bonds. You saw TJ pretty much wasn't giving Sid the time of day at the beginning, but Sid found a way to connect with her. Are you hungry? Let me make you something. And even something as simple as hamburger helper. Sid jazzed it up, probably made the best hamburger helper TJ's ever had in her life. If you can find the proper, purposeful reason to communicate, it underscores that understanding why you communicate can transform almost any dynamic. This is Rakai Steve, new from the Ville. Make sure that you share this video, like this video. Just go on, hit the like button. And even more than that, comment. I really want to read the comments. I really want to see how is this new format. You know, I didn't do as much of a recap, but I kind of built a little bit of a recap into the episode as I went. I wanted to explain my points and try to be a little bit more concise. Yeah, be a little bit more concise, realizing the why of my communication with you. Yeah, see what I did there? Huh? And if for some reason you haven't subscribed, it's okay. It's not too late. Hit the button, subscribe, watch the other videos, and maybe you get something that speaks to you. At the end of the day, it's all about this, almost as much as it's about this.